Hello, my name is Suzanne Perrin and I am an independent and accredited lecturer for the Art Society in the UK. Welcome to Introducing Japanese Textiles from my collection. Today we look at the Obi Sash. The Obi Sash, as we see here, was developed in the early 17th century in Japan in the Edo period. Of course, there were many sashes before this time, but they were mostly narrow and briefly decorated and were generally used just for securing the kimono garments that they wore. It was only in the 17th century and onwards that they developed the obi into the wide and long and beautiful sash we see today. And this was when it developed into a fashion accessory in its own right and determined the class, the status, the wealth and extravagance of the wearer. So they became very beautiful indeed. They are usually between 12 and 15 foot long, that's 4 to 5 meters, and they have a standard width of 12 inches or 31 centimeters. This was the width of the loom, so most of them will be this size or smaller, as we shall see. So the length is very long because they wanted to tie it in different arrangements at the back or at the front if you were a courtesan. So in this one in particular, this is probably from the 1980s. This is a lovely example of the Maru Obi, and it is embroidered with gold, both sides, as you can see, both sides, full length. So this is the most beautiful obi and also the most expensive because of this. This one in particular has beautiful design of courtly fans with chrysanthemums and with tsuru, the cranes here, alternating with flowers. There are also hexagons here and up there. So the crane and the hexagon symbolizes the turtle. Cranes and turtles are often symbolized together in Japanese iconography. So we have wonderful bold colors, strong colors with gold, as you can see, right down both sides, right through the whole sash. This would be worn by a younger woman, and it would be worn for special occasions like a wedding or a reception or festivals, and it would go with a flamboyant kimono as well for a stunning effect. So this is a very beautiful one. This one here is also Maru Obi, so it is also woven on both sides and the full length. This one's about 12 foot, this one here is about 13 foot long. So this one is much more subdued, as you can see, and it has a lovely pattern of alternating phoenixes here in pink and blue, alternating pink and blue right through the whole sash with pine trees in between. This would be worn by an older lady because the colours are more subdued, they are quieter, and in fact it has a beautiful silvery effect from a distance. So again, she could wear this with quite a subdued and beautiful kimono, and it would make an absolutely wonderful outfit for an older lady. An older lady would not wear the bright colours of this one. It would be too ostentatious and too showy. So these kind of colours would be appropriate for a middle-aged to older lady. And this one is probably maybe 1950s, something like that. So this is the Maru Obi. And now we come to the Fukuro Obi. The Fukuro Obi is different in that the pattern comes all the way down one side, but one side only. So the reverse side is plain, like this, but it also has two sections of pattern on the reverse side, so that when you are making the arrangement at the back, you will get the end of the obi on the other side, which is patterned like this. So this is Fukuro Obi, and this is the most popular kind of obi. The reason why they made it plain on one side is to cut down on the cost and the time to actually make, so they are cheaper and more reasonable and also easier to tie as well. So this one has a beautiful pattern. It's got gold brocade and this is a pattern called Michinaga Dori, which is wavy line pattern, and Karakusa is flower arabesques. And we have beautiful flower patterns within these wavy lines, and then the brocade is woven with flowers and peonies in the background as well. So it's a very beautiful design. It's very delicate, it's very subtle, and you can see there is a lot of gold on this. So it's very nice. This one is about 14.5 feet long. That's about 440 centimeters, with the standard width, as I said, of 12 inches or 31 centimeters. So this is Fukura Obi. This is another Fukura Obi with a different pattern, very beautiful pattern. Again, the pattern is full length, one side only, and then sections on the reverse side like this, as you can see, which come at the end of the obi, so that when you have it tied at the back, you will get this, you will see this section. So the other parts are not visible, which is why they are made plain to keep the cost down. This one has a beautiful pattern, a very unusual pattern, in a kind of peach. And what we have is courtly pastimes. There are courtly fans here with flowers and cherry blossoms, peonies, chrysanthemums and irises here, and also a drum for music, a tsutsumi drum. We also have, it has references to kaiawase, which is the shell game, where you have shells which you have to match up, a bit like a game of Snap. And this kaioke is the box they use to keep the shells in. And there are other boxes here and bundles. There's a mirror here with a cord, and these little bundles up here are the little bags which house the tea caddies for tea ceremony. So we have references here for tea ceremony, kaiawase, the shell poem game, and music and dance with the drum and the fan, and also arrangements of beautiful flower arrangements, ikebana. So these are all the cultural pursuits of the educated and refined people in Japan. So this very beautiful obi, again with a beautiful gold weave pattern in the background, has this beautiful detail. It's also unusual because of the range of colours in this particular fabric. The more colours you use, the more expensive it is, of course, and there are lots of subtle weavings and colourways in this particular obi. So it's a very beautiful one. So this is the one you would wear if you were going to a tea ceremony or a musical concert of Japanese music or some traditional pastime like that. So this would be very appropriate for a high status and well-to-do lady. Both of them are Fukuro Obi. These are two more Fukuro Obi, and in fact these are the most common kind that you find in Japan, which are worn frequently for special occasions and festivals. They are also worn by dancers as well. This is a very typical bright and bold pattern of hexagons and chrysanthemums inside. It's very bold, very beautiful, and you can see its only pattern is full length one side. It is orange satin, and there is the edge, the end of the reverse side also has the pattern for when you are tying the arrangement at the back. So although this is very extravagant colours, it's very bright and bold, these kinds are very popular in Japan for special occasions and festivals. This is a similar pattern but has quite a different feel. Also with hexagons, with a chrysanthemum in the middle. This is a brocade of very soft silk, and it doesn't have the stiffening. This is a much thicker one here on this side. So this doesn't have the thickening. So it's got the pattern down one side, and also at the end here, you can see on the other side. So this is a much thinner one, which would make it a much easier to tie. So you could put this into a half like that very easily, and tie it in a very particular way at the back. So this is also a very popular kind of Fukuro Obi. So now we come to a different type of obi. This is the Nagoya Obi. Nagoya is a main city about halfway between Kyoto and Tokyo. And this type of hybrid obi was developed in Nagoya in the late 19th, early 20th centuries. So this one has a beautiful woven pattern, which, a bit like the Maru Obi, is the full length of the obi and both sides, as you can see. And we have a lovely woven pattern brocade of cranes, pine trees, chrysanthemums, irises, bamboo, all the auspicious plants and symbols. What makes it different is that it has two widths. So for 1/3 of the obi, we have the full width, which is 12 inches, 31 centimeters. And for 2/3 of the obi, it is half width, call it kohaba obi. And this is about 6.5 inches, 15 centimeters. The whole thing is about 10.5 foot long, which is about 230 centimeters. And we have this interesting hybrid style because it made it a lot lighter and easier to wear and to tie as well. So you can make different arrangements with this style of Nagoya Obi, and we have the full width, which you would see at the back and at the front. So this is the hybrid style. As you can see, it's quite difficult to display. This is another Nagoya Obi. This is black satin. The pattern comes on one side only, as you can see here. So it's just plain apart from the edge at the end here. And we have inserts, applique inserts of brocade pattern, showing us flowers and chrysanthemums and leaves and phoenixes and even Western style patterns here with deer, facing deer. So they've made this a very bold pattern on black satin with these inserts of brocade. And again, the 1/3 is the full width, as you can see, of 12 inches, and then the 2/3 is the black satin, which comes at half width of 6 inches, 6.5 inches. And there is some patterning on this section here, which you would see in part of the tying process. So they would only put the pattern where it would be visible in the arrangement. So this was an interesting hybrid style of obi, the Nagoya Obi. This is the kohaba obi, the half width obi. So this is about 6 inches in width, 15 centimeters, half the width of the standard loom size, which is 31 centimeters, 12 inches. So there are 3 very different patterns, and the kohaba obi is very popular because of its half width, easier to tie, and also comes in distinctive patterns. This one here is quite unusual. It is very fine silk. Now all of these are double-sided, although it's a half width. It is the full width of the loom, so they've folded it over to make it double-sided, full length. This is a wonderful pattern, woven pattern in gold of seal script. Seal script was the ancient form of Chinese writing from which Chinese characters came from. And it is to be found on tiles and bronzes from the 18th years BC in China. So this is very distinctive, and it is still used today for official titles and for certain types of calligraphy use this seal script. It is very refined and very classical. So to find an obi like this, it would mean that the wearer would be going to perhaps tea ceremony class or perhaps a calligraphy and painting class. It would be very appropriate. The one in the middle here is a more popular design of temari. Temari are the embroidered balls which children play with for festivals and at the New Year as well. So again, that's double-sided from the full width of the loom. And we've got temari balls, and we've got silk spindles here, you can see, with flowers and chrysanthemums repeating. So this is a playful design for a sort of festival or for sort of leisure wear. It's a very easy to wear, lovely design. This is very formal, so you can see the difference. The one here is also quite unusual. It's double-sided, and this one is an antique, maybe late 19th century, and this has a very interesting theme of spring and autumn poetry writing. So we have the maple and the cherry blossoms here, and then within that space there are poems that are written in hiragana, the script, the Japanese script. So there are famous poems, and these are the kind of outdoor curtains that they would use at a poetry writing composition in the classical ages, in the 10th century, in the Heian period. So this alludes to, again, literacy, the refined and aesthetic pastimes of the classical culture. So we have repeated and alternating colours for the fences and the curtains here with the trees, and then the poems are actually woven into the fabric. So this is hiragana script, this is seal script. You have two different types of writing displayed in the belts themselves. Kohaba obi, the half-width style. Now we have different types of obi here. This is a fairly modern one, maybe Taisho period, maybe 1930s, with a lovely repeat pattern of koi carp and arrows. This is obviously for the Boys' Day festival on the 5th of May. And it is printed cotton in a repeat pattern, and pattern only one side, and the reverse side is just plain black satin. So there is no extra pattern on the back. So it would be tied in a fairly simple way with this lovely repeated pattern of carp going right up the full length of this obi. This one is part of the Kohaba obi, the half-width obi, but this is called a Han-haba obi, and it's called that because Han means on the reverse side, and what we have is a very nice woven pattern on the full length of this. It's about 12 foot long, a woven pattern of umbrellas, partly open and fully open, umbrellas and fans, and on the back there is a separate weave which is a different type. Now this is actually very common in Japan, this lovely colour, very deep colour, purple, and with a very nice central woven section. These are quite common, and certainly men and women can wear these Han-haba obi, which means a different pattern on each side. This is what this one means. So it's half width, 6 inches, 15 centimetres, with two different weave patterns. This one is different again, and in fact this one is a dyed obi, but it has been made from a woman's furisode or kimono, silk kimono, because the patterning is not one you would find woven into a sash. So this has been made into a sash, half-width style, and it has repeated, this is yuzen, which is hand-painted. The silk weave, the base weave is water here, and this beautiful pink colour for spring, and the pattern is of phoenixes. Here you can see the phoenix with the phoenix tail and chrysanthemums, and this is a lovely repeated pattern which would have made a very nice kimono or furisode with the long sleeves for a young lady. So it's very delicate, very feminine, very pretty, but it's been made into an obi sash. It didn't start as an obi sash. These are made for obi. Obi material was often recycled into different things. As you can see, I'm wearing a waistcoat which is made of obi material, made by a friend of mine. These are also obi material items recycled and remade into different things. These are slip cases for swords. So this one would be for the daito, the long sword, and you can see the entrance is here, and what we would have is the sword itself would go in its scabbard, of course, put it in here like this, and then you flip the top over and then you use the cord to tie it around like this in a particular way. So this is one slip case for the daito, the long sword, and then we have two here for the short sword, the shoto. So this is a different material, as you can see. It's very nice obi material, very nice colours, showing us pavilions and houses and bridges and gardens, and of course cranes. Cranes are very ubiquitous, as are chrysanthemums in this one. And this is another nice slip case for the shoto, which is made of lovely gold brocade in a pattern of fans, open and closed fans. And the fans themselves have phoenixes and cranes and flowers on them, and then there's a pattern of water as well in the background. So this is green and gold, it's very nice, whereas these have more subtle designs and colours. So of course, if you were a samurai with your full complement of swords, there is another one called the dagger as well, the short sword and the dagger, you would have a matching set of the slip cases which would match together. These are three separate ones, but at least it's showing you what can be done with obi material. And this lovely item is a tsukete obi, a pre-tied obi for a young girl. Young girls have a kimono set, and when they go out to festivals, especially the Shichigo-san, the 753 festival, where girls of 7 and 3 and boys of 5 go to the Shinto shrines to get their blessings and have a festival day out. So they have a special outfit, but of course such a young girl cannot wear the full obi that we've been looking at, so they make them on a smaller scale and pre-tied. So this is a beautiful tsukete obi in a lovely bow with ribbons and tassels and cords, and then this goes around the little girl's waist, and then it hooks on at the back, so it's very easy to put on. It takes about 5 minutes. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you.